genetically engineered children will die at birth. If not, then shortly later. The reasons are nutrition, thermal headroom, oxygen intake, toxicity, and definitely a bunch of other stuff I've missed. And boy, are we min-maxing them the absolutely wrong way around. Because oxygen, nutrition, and thermal output are becoming worse and worse. Well, things like toxicity is going up. And genetics are not magic. You can't gene edit your way into making a superhuman that runs on water. Unless you make something that is straight up not human in any way, shape, or form. If you can do that. Because believe me, these people have absolutely no clue what they're doing. Because I can bet my life, these people, these supposed scientists, have absolutely no clue what they're saying or doing. Because if there was a tall gene, a short gene, a muscle gene, smart gene, they would have already edited themselves out. If it was that simple, it would have already been done, even by these complete buffoons. I do have to mention, evil buffoons. But guess what? It doesn't work like that. Every single gene in a genetic sequence is connected to each other, back and forth, sideways, crossways. You change one, let's say at the end of the gene, the one at the beginning of the gene is also going to change. It's going to become something else. But what does this have to do with anything I just said about nutrition and oxygen and stuff? Well, for starters, wanting a smart person is like having a very smart computer. And this very smart computer has a bunch of needs. And if you don't meet those needs, you can't even magic your way out of it. So making this very smart brain. First, nutrition. It is completely lacking in every way. Let's say a 200 IQ brain needs about 10 kilos of fat and vitamins and minerals or whatever, while completely ignoring every other possible need the brain has. And these requirements for just the physical structure of the brain are not being met by any form of diet. The carnivorian diets are probably the only one close to that. Because big brain people need both lots and lots of nerves, which takes a lot and lot of resources. The same way, the most expensive thing about the electronics is the silicon chips on top of them, and all the gold that goes to make them. Oxygen is like energy for your motherboard. Let's say the chip needs 500 watts of energy. You're only giving it 100. Well, good luck if it even starts up. Oxygen is just like that for the brain, which because the weather gets hotter and hotter and air quality goes down and down and down, the oxygen level in the air is plummeting rapidly. And sorry, a very smart brain cannot run on low to no oxygen, which is why you perish when you suffocate. Now, the other thing. Thermal headroom. Well, do you know what thinking does? It generates heat on top of using energy and causing fatigue. We're not going to mention the fatigue. All this heat has to go somewhere. If it just piles up, your brain will explode. Which is why, when you're overheating, your brain shuts down to protect itself. All three of these, you have noticed perfectly yourself. When you're hungry, you're angry and grumpy. Because you're trying to avoid anything that gets your brain to do anything. When air quality is bad, you're angry and grumpy. When it's very, very hot, you're angry and grumpy. Toxicity is pretty self-explanatory. The more industrial sewage you have running in someone's system, the worse they will become, because nothing has the environment to properly grow. It is constantly being harmed in every way. Since we're only talking about intelligence-related stuff, we're not going to go into how your body becomes absolutely demolished because of all these factors. But let's say, hey, all that is true and all, but I still need someone that can engineer things. Well, my friends, you have something called autism that can help with that. How does autism help? Let's separate your brain into engineering, practical stuff, and social, abstract stuff. What autism does, at least what I've seen, actual autism does, and not intellectually challenged people being flung into the same spectrum, is the social parts of the brain will get completely sacrificed and replaced by the practical engineering these stuff. Which makes it very, very hard for them to fit into the social norms of idiots. Because yes, us normies are complete idiots in comparison. Because if we didn't have the engineering brain, we couldn't put two and two together. But they don't have the social brain, and they are actually managing to function. If you ask me, they are the superior people. The master R word, if I have to say. And now you have someone who is very engineering capable, but socially inept. But there is also something else that can be done about it. Psychological and mental stability. Now, how does that work? Well, do you know computers, PCs, and overclocking? Well, what overclocking is, you take the CPU or the GPU and you artificially boost the frequencies. What this does is gives you extra performance, but the PC becomes unstable. It becomes prone to just shutting down at any time or miscalculating things. Like, you have an overclocked GPU and CPU, you are gaming, playing, and suddenly the screen starts to flicker. But the monitor is completely fine. There's no problem with that. Even the GPU is perfectly fine. But the only problem is, you've overclocked it, and now it's just miscalculating things. Without even realizing it is miscalculating things. When there's someone who's really smart, you say a whole lot of dumb shit to them, and they just continuously get angrier and angrier at how stupid you are. Or another way this mental instability can show itself is they're working and working and working. The stress finally gets to them, they snap and burn everything they've worked on. Because when you look at it, you can check for yourself, most of the extremely intelligent, extremely high IQ people tend to have both of these, if not more, factors that are missing. They are both mentally unstable, prone to just snapping and doing random things, or they are autistic, socially inept and stuff. But even that is just random chance. Because let me tell you in on a little secret. Your genetics are not absolute and set in stone. In order to show you that, I'm going to give you one example. Well, technically two, but second one is kind of messy. Indian people. Let's say two parents. They haven't had a child yet. They come to the US, live for a year or two, and then have a child. The normal Indian height is about 150 centimeters, if I'm not mistaken. Well, these children, immediately, in one generation, go from 150 to 170 to 180. But you might be asking, why does that happen? Aren't they genetically supposed to be short? Well, that shortness, like the lack of intelligence I mentioned earlier, is caused mainly by poor nutrition in India. Because when they come to the US, they start getting a lot more nutrition into themselves, and the body of the woman and the man start adapting. They become far less scared of resource restrictions. They are free to have a considerably taller, stronger, and smarter child. Yes, the human body actually does all of those calculations before producing the sperm or the baby. Even the fetus, at the time of growing itself, will actively monitor the nutrition in the mother's blood. Because there's this weird thing, because if you pull too much nutrition from the mother's immune system is going to detect you as a parasite, and it will eat you and devour you. And this scarcity can cause the child to change its mind midway. For example, not becoming as big as it wants to be. Because genetics are usually ceilings, targets that it wants to reach. It is not a hard blueprint of make me like this. If it has room for something, and you give it the room to do so, it will do so. You don't have to believe me. Just get in a room, make it really, really cold, like you're freezing. Then put on an oxygen mask and start doing work, whether it is physical or mental. You're gonna notice you've gotten a lot more capable, because these two things remove the limits of heat and oxygen. The other thing I wanted to mention about genetics not being absolute is the intelligence and height of Japanese people. When Japanese people started importing Western technology, they managed to start eating a lot more meat. And this much more meat caused them to become taller and smarter. Because there is a divide between the generations that imported the Western technologies and started eating well, and the generation that actually became capable enough to make their own Western technologies. Because, unga bunga, who would have thought eating what your body is made of is a lot better than eating something that actively wants you to not eat it and is in no way, shape, or form directly usable by your body. Let's say plants. It has to go into your stomach, get processed like 100 different times in 100 different places until it becomes something your body can use. Well, while on the other hand, meat is pretty much pre-processed. And when it's pre-processed, which means it can go into your intestines and directly go towards your brain to make more brain. You don't have to believe me. Which animals are the ones that are the highest performance compared to their body weight? Which ones are the ones that live the longest? Ta-da-da-dan! It's usually the carnivorous animals, the ones that eat meat. I don't know, like lions, tigers, bears. Does anyone know bears? These absolutely ginormous, borderline bulletproof creatures. I do have to say bulletproof is a bit of a stretch, but they're pretty durable. Or crocs, alligators. You know, the ones that are literally wearing armor on top of their body, which I'm pretty sure there were multiple unkillable man-eaters. They're also carnivorous. And they also live really, really long lives. Another thing about genes, technically the human body, cancer is caused by your immune system becoming weaker. And what I'm saying is supported by the fact that men generally get a lot more cancers than women. Why? Because women normally have 8 times the immune system than a guy. I mean, there's a lot of nerds around here that watch anime. Has no one watched Cells at Work? They literally explain it that the immune system is the thing that constantly prevents cancer. The ones we call cancer are the ones that are not caught in time because the immune system has been compromised. Anyway, there's a lot that gene editing will absolutely not fix, as long as you do not fix the underlying issues that are causing the problems. You can't gene edit your way into 500 IQ humans until you pull a Godzilla and your body runs on nuclear radiation or something. And at that point, are you actually a human or something? Because I don't know. At that point, whatever we turn into is not human. Unless this human suddenly develops powers on its own through sheer force of will or something like that. Because if mystical beings are to believe, humans, as they are, do have the potential to use magic and stuff. I mean, we can already sense energies that we don't actually see, like radio waves. For example, how many times has it been you pull out your phone because your brain told you to, and in that exact moment, your phone rings. Your brain detected the radio signals going into your phone because it has memorized what radio signal pattern means your phone is going to ring. So it told you to pull it out and be ready for the call. That is my proof. I believe human telepathy works like that too. Because why is it that? There are 2 people that are not looking at each other. They don't even know the other person exists. But if one of them starts looking at the other person from behind, the other person immediately turns around. No noise, no nothing. They just noticed they're being watched and someone is trying to communicate to them. Which is why I'm pretty sure telepathy is something that is supposed to exist in humans. Anyway, I don't want to make a 5-hour long video or something. I don't even remember all of it. Goodbye for now.